A person's childhood is written in the games they played. And for me, those games became a story. One of challenge, discovery, happiness, and sometimes pure frustration. These are the games that shaped me as a gamer. The classics that defined generations, hidden gems that deserve more love, and even the garbage picks that taught me resilience. Together, they set the standard for what gaming means to me. And maybe for you too. For the purpose of the video, we're going to keep the list down to 25. And what a way to kick it off with the first game, Super Mario Bros. 3. Easily a classic for a lot of you OGs out there. This game was probably the first time we were actually able to see the open world map and actually see the levels in the game, which gave you that feeling of an actual adventure game that the first two really didn't have. No shade to the first two, but this third one was a heavy step up. I mean, the graphics were just way better in comparison with the contrast of colors. And it just felt like the first time Mario actually became an icon. It also was the first time we were able to fly using the Tanuki suit. So, being able to fly over the map was just a whole nother layer that gave you as a kid that was just crazy at the time. So, easily the best out of the big three. Now, moving along to Super Mario World. Next installment in Mario, Super Nintendo just came out swinging. I mean, the graphics on this were crazy. It was beautiful to look at, colorful. Platforming was smooth, addictive, not frustrating even when you got stuck on a certain level. But you also got Yoshi, and I'm going to pre-pause this. I know it's going to sound crazy, but you're able to swallow enemies and fight with Yoshi and flutter jump. That was a whole new dynamic to Mario's identity. You also had Star Road. Now, I know you remember that time when you first found Star Road. It's like a whole new dimension. You can't tell me that was not an iconic moment growing up playing that game and you figured out there was a whole new set of levels to play. Super, super iconic. Donkey Kong Country. Now, this is one of the ones, man. This was a actually difficult platformer to play. Definitely was one of the ones where I felt like I might break my controller at one point, at the later levels, but this was a fun game, man. The tag team between DK and Diddy had always kept things kind of fresh, being able to swap between the two. The soundtrack, legendary. I mean, the underwater level, I know you know what I'm talking about here. Aquatic ambience, fire. Graphically, this was ahead of its time, man. Rare blew everyone away with this pre-rendered CGI look that we hadn't seen before. Crazy innovation, man. This was definitely a dub. Shaq Fu. All right, now listen to me for a second here, man. Now this game on paper was a great idea. This taught me that you cannot judge a book by its cover because it looked great. The graphics, the aesthetic, Shaq going to another dimension to fight demons, it sounded and looked fire. But this shit was trash. I mean, this had the worst hit detection I've ever seen. I mean, I don't know how you couldn't figure out how to do any moves. I mean, clunky, the shit was broken. I'm sorry, Shaq, but this was terrible, bro. You could not save this game just by being you. This was the butt of a lot of jokes for a reason. One of the worst games ever. Okay, Chrono Trigger. Now, this is the GOAT. This is definitely top 3 RPG ever. I came back to this game as I got a little bit older and was already into RPGs, so it still raised the bar for me. Storytelling was crazy. You could time travel across different eras, and depending on when you wanted to beat the game at that time in the story, it would change the ending. So high replay value. You got combo techniques with multiple characters. You can combine 2 or 3 characters to do a combo technique. And then you had the all-star cast that it had with Akira Toriyama from Dragon Ball for the art. And this definitely delivered the hype that it had, I'm sure, coming out. Definitely an iconic RPG. If you're an RPG head, you have to play this one if you haven't already. Classic. Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars. Definitely a special one for me because this is my very first RPG that I ever played. Didn't know what RPG stood for, and didn't matter because this game was just so good. I mean, Square and Nintendo definitely did their thing with this, putting out this banger. Mario, and then you had other unique and original characters like Geno and Malo, along with Bowser and Peach and everybody else. This was a story that was definitely epic in its own regards, Square, being who they are. But it also had a unique combat system where you could time your attack to do more damage and extend the animation by timing the button push. And also defending, you could time the enemy's attack to defense or mitigate that damage as well. Which that mechanic is not new to Expedition 33, by the way. They took that from Square with this game here. It definitely was the perfect beginner RPG for me and probably a lot of other kids growing up. Still deep enough to leave quite a lasting impression. Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, if you had a Sega Genesis, you had Sonic. Sonic was basically the answer to Mario, right? He was just a blue, faster, emo, but cooler version of Mario. Now, this was unique because Sonic was fast. So if you had a fast character, you had to have good level design. And they definitely delivered. The whole franchise from 1 to 3 to Sonic and Knuckles. You had Starlight Zone, Casino Night, Ice Cap Zone, Sky Sanctuary. I mean, these were iconic, and I know you know them well because you died at least 1,000 times like I did, probably a lot more than me. Now, the most memorable part about this whole franchise, right? And I know this is Sonic 2 and up, but when you got all the Chaos Emeralds and you got 50 rings or more, and you finally figured out that you could jump up in the air and go supersonic, and you went, and you fucking went yellow, boy, that shit was the craziest moment for me at the time in gaming. I'm talking about legendary, G. Shit was cold. Mortal Kombat. Now, Mortal Kombat is influential for a lot of things. This is the first game that you had to actually push a button to block. I don't know why that was the case, but they had it. First game, fighting game to have finishers. The fatalities was super cold. I mean, we couldn't figure out how to do them at first, but when you did, man, that shit was insulting. I still wanted to beat up one of my cousins for that shit. Also, fun fact, Mortal Kombat is the direct reason the US has the ESRB rating systems in the gaming industry to this day. Alright, moving along to The Simpsons, Bart's Nightmare. Gee, this game had me in such a chokehold for years growing up. It took me quite a long time to actually figure out how to beat this game. It wasn't good by any means as far as game-wise, mechanically, but man, this shit was fun. I mean, I was a fan of The Simpsons, just like any kid growing up at the time. So, it was good to me at the time. Pretty bad game overall, though. One of the most notoriously bad Simpsons games ever. But it did build me some resilience and patience for the Souls-likes down the road. Moving on to a fucking GOAT, Super Mario 64. Now, this launched with the Nintendo 64, which this was probably the most anticipated system for me as a kid ever. I don't think I ever was so excited about a game system than this one. This game, being Mario, open world 3D, being able to do different jumps, man, this was next level experience, G. Like, I'm talking about getting the 120 stars, doing the glitch up to the castle, on the side, you know what I'm talking about, up to the top of the castle. It was just epic, man. I don't think anything could beat this. If you played it, if you didn't, I don't know what the fuck you were doing. Slippy! That's what I think of when I think of Star Fox 64. Yes, I let Slippy die probably way too many times. Pretty fucked up, but it took me a little bit to figure this out. It was just basic shit like barrel rolling. This is my first. I didn't play the original Star Fox game, and I didn't really play any other flight simulator type of game. So this was the first for me. Thoroughly enjoyed it, being able to choose different paths on different levels, and had a different endings as well, I believe, from what I remember. But the Rumble Pack, that was pretty cool. Now you had that big ass fatback piece you had to put on the back of your controller, and it made it rumble, man. That shit was crazy. Definitely the first game to put that innovation in it. So shout out Star Fox. Super Smash Bros. Super Smash is such a peak gaming moment in history for me. Smash was, if you remotely liked fighting games just a little bit, you definitely had to play Smash. I mean, this was the first brawler, 4 people, just pure chaos on the screen. Man, this shit was so fun. I would be having dreams about playing it, waking up with an invisible controller in my hand, playing the game in a dream, then waking up to play the game right away. I mean, this for a kid, summertime, right out of school, man, this was addiction like 101. I mean, what else could you say, man? Yeah, Pokemon, Mario, Link, Kirby. This was like fucking gaming heaven for a kid. Shout out Smash, man, for being a GOAT. Next up is Resident Evil. Now this shit put the fear of God in me. This was my very first horror game that I played up until this point as a kid. And that opening zombie in that hallway made me jump so bad, man. I screamed like a little girl. I know that was you too. Go ahead and comment up if that was you screaming or getting jump scared at that opening zombie. This game, with that slow ass walk movement and that limited ammo you had to even kill zombies, shit had me terrified at night. Final Fantasy VII. When I seen the cover art for this game in a magazine, I knew I had to play this game. I had no fucking clue what this game was about. I just knew I had to play it. This was like my second RPG ever played after that Legend of the Seven Stars Mario one. And this shit is in my top 3 all-time RPG. And for great reason. This game with Cloud, Sephiroth, best hero-villain combo probably out there. The materia system was so fire. I mean, being able to combo materias and to do the things that game lets you do with the materia system, that shit to this day is definitely one of the best systems for magic and abilities in gaming history. Sonic Adventure. Now, Sonic Adventure, this was the same impact that had for me as Mario on 64. This was Sonic in 3D. Man, this shit was just epic because Sonic was one of my favorite characters overall. So being able to run around in a 3D environment, playing multiple characters like Knuckles and Tails and the Kale Garden to top it all off, man, that shit was just, this is a classic, hands down. Power Stone. A Power Stone is definitely significant because this was one of those fighters that I would fight my cousins and friends in, and we just had a ball using the environment, using the power-ups, the 3D arenas. You were actually able to use the entire arena, you know, up, down, left, right, in the air and all that. So the second one was better, but the OG gets the credit because this was the original. Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Peak fighting genre game. This, to me, is the greatest fighting game of all time. I was never into fighting games as much as I was into this one. You had a 56 character roster. All the greats, the combos, the team-ups. That shit was just pure fire. Soundtrack was amazing. I want to take you for a ride. I know, if you played this game one time, you know that fucking song. Not only that, it was a perfect port to Dreamcast. The game apparently is still played to this day competitively, which should let you know right there, this is the GOAT. Chugging along to the next RPG on the list, which is Fable. Fable, man, this game is definitely up there because of the fact that it brought us something that we hadn't seen yet. The morality system, being able to make choices that change your appearance or change the way the world reacted to you, and kicking chickens, which was one of the funnest parts of the game. Then you add some British humor to it. I mean, the game was solid all around. The magic, the combat, you couldn't ask for more in an RPG at the time. Ninja Gaiden Black is probably the greatest action combat game. Top 3. I'm going to give it top 3. The difficulty that was with this game, it's known as one of the hardest games ever. This was Soulsborne or Souls-like before Dark Souls or Demon Souls came out, before we even knew what that was. The game was so hard, I only know a handful of people that actually beat this game. One of my closest friends actually beat all the missions, the extra missions after you beat the game to 100% this. That's how dedicated we was. This is an action head, combat head dream. If you know, you know. If you don't know, you might not never know. And let me know in the comments if you actually beat it. If you a real G and you beat this, comment in the comments, because I know a lot of y'all didn't. Alright, so look, G. I'm looking down at your screen. Right up under the video, that subscribe button is not hit. Hit that button. Now let's get back into the next one, which is Grand Theft Auto 3. Man, this was a turning point for gaming. This flipped the industry on its head. I mean, being able to ride around, doing drive-bys, picking up hoes, crashing into people, running people over. This shit was controversy to its finest. I remember this being on the news, and a lot of parents and politicians were just complaining and wanting lawmakers to censor the game somehow and stop kids from playing it. But this was just great sandbox gaming, and Rockstar Grand Theft Auto delivered the pioneer blueprint for sandbox. Final Fantasy X was another giant leap for gaming. Final Fantasy X was just one of those games that delivered on so many levels. Square just brought together this great package of music, soundtrack, the sphere grid system being what it was, and being able to build out your characters the way you wanted to, the 3D graphics, story. I mean, come on, it's Final Fantasy, but this is Final Fantasy X, which is iconic in the franchise. Metal Gear Solid 2. Now, Metal Gear Solid 2, I played this before I played 1, so this is a lot more significant for me because it brought me to this whole franchise. Being able to play as Raiden and Snake, and just the whole story, and this is just a masterpiece, man. I can't emphasize this enough. I played this over and over until I 100%ed this, got all the dog tags, did everything, got the stealth, and it just delivered. It pushed stealth action games forward tremendously. Kojima is just a genius when it comes to these type of games. Kingdom Hearts. Y'all gonna make a real nigga cry up in this motherfucker, man. This Kingdom Hearts, man. This is just peak RPG. This rounds out my top 3 RPG all time list. Kingdom Hearts, Square Enix putting Disney characters. This was the combo we didn't know we needed. Sora and the magic and the combat system, and then going to all the worlds and shit. Nightmare Before Christmas. Man, this was kids' dream video game right here. Might be the greatest RPG ever, man. I'm just saying. Y'all comment in the comments, man. What your top 3 RPGs are? This is the greatest racing game of all time, man. I do not care what y'all talking about. Need for Speed Underground was peak racing video gaming. Being able to customize your whip with the lights and all the kits and wraps and nitrous and shit, and then you had the soundtrack. Man, if I got stuck on a mission or a race, when that Yin Yang Twins came on, I guaranteed locked in every single time. Cleared that bitch. And last but definitely not least, God of War. God of War is definitely up there with one of the best action games of all time. Kratos is an icon, man. He had us letting out rage that we didn't even know we had. The combat mixed with the puzzles and platforming and the story, it literally made you feel like you was controlling a god-killing machine. So that is my list of games that have defined my childhood and pretty much set the standard for gaming and what I look to judge games to this day. I want to know what y'all think though, man. Do y'all think that the standard that you all have for video games is being met or exceeded nowadays? I don't think they are. I think now we have too far and few between with the classics and the iconic games that we look to that we used to have back in the day. Probably a product of a lot of the bigger companies just looking for profit margins and lacking the passion that a lot of these titles need. If you could pick one game though that definitely defined your childhood out of all of them, let me know in the comments, man, what that is. Mine, I'm going to tell you mine right now. Mine is Final Fantasy VII. Obviously one of my top RPGs of all time. And it probably came at a time where I needed it the most. Now, if y'all liked the video, hit the like button. If you hated it, let me know. I appreciate the love either way. And I'll catch y'all in the next one, man. Peace.